Hi brothers and sisters, short video for 8th day dawning. We'll try to get through the information pretty fast. We're going to take a look at the term Gomorrah and how it actually relates us back to the term Egypt, or vice versa, how the term Egypt actually relates us back to Gomorrah. So we'll start in Revelations 11:8. We'll try to draw our connections pretty quick. Their bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt? I thought it was Sodom and Gomorrah in the Old Testament. I think it's trying to point out something here. Which is also, figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, which also their Lord, I can't even understand my own writing, where their Lord was crucified, right? So in the Old Testament, we know the Lord that they crucified was the Holy One, and that was the casting down of daughter Zion's covenant, Israel's covenant, and that was figuratively represented as a woman, a daughter, a female. And we can go further than that. It's not a full-grown woman that represented Israel. It was actually a young girl. Yeah, let's get to it. So the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah is found in Genesis 19:24. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. So Strong's Hebrew 5467, Sodom. It's from an unused root meaning to scorch or burnt. It's a district in Sodom, a place near the Dead Sea, Sodom. So guess what? We can link this word back to the abomination that maketh desolate. A man inside of a man will make the spirit of the righteous covenant desolate. She'll have no children. And the one that does have the children is daughter Babylon. She's found in Isaiah 47 saying, I will never be widowless. I will never be childless. I'm hid in his heart. No one sees me is what she says. And the reason why no one sees her is because she is hid in his heart. That's who his covenant is with. But it was never supposed to be with her. But the harlot Babylon is what bows to a man and builds him up as God. And they become those who will not hearken to the spirit of mother's covenant. Becomes known as Gomorrah, a rebellious people. That's what that means. So if you Google the meaning of the name Gomorrah, it says in biblical names the meaning of the name Gomorrah is rebellious people. Well, why is it called Egypt over here? Why? You got to start asking some heavy questions here. So the term Gomorrah, Amor, it's from 6017, a city in the Jordan Valley. It's derived from the word Amar, 6014b, which means to deal tyrannically. Deal with, it says, him violently. Who have they dealt violently with? Her, not him. They always want to stick a him there. It was her that they dealt violently with. They mistreat her. They made her well, her covenant, her water of well, a ruinous heap. That's what we're told. And we've looked at that. We've studied that, okay? So when we go to Ezekiel 3:8, it says, Behold, I will make your face as hard as their faces, and your forehead as hard as their foreheads. I will make your forehead like a diamond, harder than flint. Do not be afraid of them or dismayed at their presence, even though they are a what? A rebellious people. Oh, look! Ezekiel, which is called Son of Man, and I'm going to say at the end of the day, it's daughter of woman, who takes the real spirit of this covenant out to the people who are very rebellious people. They don't want nothing to do with it. They don't want to hear it. And she says, don't worry. I'll make your forehead just as hard as theirs. They think they're going to come against my daughter Israel, my daughters of Israel, and take them out. They're not. I've sharpened them with this. I've sharpened them with an understanding so that these hardened foreheads of the rebellious people cannot touch my covenant. Isaiah 50 verse 7, Because the Lord God helps me, I have not been disgraced, therefore I have set my face like flint, and I know that I will not be put to shame. Jeremiah 15:20, Then I will make you a wall. Who's the wall? Identified as in the scriptures. We're going to get to her. I will make you a wall to this people, a fortified wall of bronze. They will fight against you, but they will not overcome you, for I am with you to save and deliver you, declares the Lord. So we're going to learn a few things pretty quick right here. Ezekiel 2:6. But you, not son of man, we're going to put daughter of woman, Israel, do not be afraid of them or their words. They're meaningless words. They're vain. They're the vain imaginations of Baal's heart that's been taught to your children. But we're going to get to it. All right? Do not be afraid of them or their words. Do not be afraid, though briars and thorns surround you. We were told in another passage that Israel became surrounded by briars and thorns. And those briars and thorns are representing the male nations that surrounds the woman's seed, her one daughter that she has. And so we're actually being explained that here in this verse. Though briars and thorns surround you, and you dwell among scorpions, those who desire to poison you with their lies. That's what it was all about, the poisoning of the woman seeing the one daughter, so she would end up teaching their religious lies and laws that would feed out to the world, and therein thus becomes the false foundation of our world, which we've come to understand on many of our videos. Do not be afraid of their words or dismayed by their presence, though they are a what? A rebellious people house. Yeah. Ezekiel 44:6. So let's get right to it, who it is. Tell the rebellious people of who? Israel. They weren't even listening to their own spirit, which were identified as the daughters of Israel that the men were to have in covenant. And that's why we began to understand why Balaam and Balak played so heavily in the bringing down of the daughters of Israel's covenant, and the men of Israel rejecting the spirit of their covenant for the harlot spirit that would teach him as God. So, rebellious house of Israel, that this is what the Lord God says, I've had enough of your abominations, O house of Israel. So the abomination that maketh desolate is teaching a man inside of a man as God, a man that'll hearken only to his own laws and religious lies, and it makes her desolate. She'll have no children because she too becomes the harlot teaching his religious lies. Zechariah 7:12. They made their hearts like flint and would not listen to the law. Where was the law found? It is not the Torah law. We've proven that that was the one written by man's hand to subjugate his own sister. And he used violence very early on and even later on to bring that all into play and to lay down a false foundation that would build him up as God and gave life to that image so it would breathe and even perform miracles. We're getting an understanding of the two horns now actually being Judaism and what was once known as the Vatican. Back in them old days, I forget what it went by. I don't think it was called the Vatican then, though it might have been. But from these two becomes that little horn built up. Guess what that is? It's Christianity. And the three-headed beast serpent that you often see in a lot of movies, it's identifying a three-headed religious system, a three-horned religious system that is designed as a beast to put women under men in their man-made religious lies and laws. And now they've all become a rebellious people that will not turn from the lies, the religious lies that's in their hearts. That's why it says the path that leads to righteousness is narrow, and few there be that find it. So they made their hearts like flint and would not listen to the law or to the words that the Lord of hosts had sent by her spirit, by her daughters. That's right. Which would be called the earlier prophetesses here that they rejected. Therefore great anger came from the Lord of hosts and still does come from her. She is still angry. So they wouldn't receive the law, which she tells you what that is in Deuteronomy 4. It's the 10 Commandments. And if we're following the 10 Commandments, I don't think we need any other laws. But they kept making law after law after law, and it becomes the false foundation that gets fed out from Mount Zion. So they're the rebellious people, Egypt. That's what that's showing you. Song of Songs 8:8. We have a little sister. Oh, we do. And she has no breasts. So she has no milk to nourish her children. She cannot nourish children. What shall we do for our sister on the day when she is spoken for? If she be a wall. This gets interesting. We will build upon her a palace of what? Silver. A palace of silver. And if she be a door, we will enclose with boards of cedar. Enclose her with boards of cedar. That sounds a lot like the house in the forest of Lebanon, doesn't it? God says, I will rebuild you again, O virgin daughter of Israel. That's what she says. Verse 10, then she tells you what she is. She says, I am a wall, and my breasts are like towers. She has now begun to nourish her children, and she is beginning to protect her children. She is fortified. That's what that means. And she became fortified with the truth. That's right. Isaiah 4, I believe it's verse 4, Mother God says to her daughters, I will wash the blood off of the daughters of Zion. And she's washing them with her water, with her law, with her word, right? And you cannot be a rebellious person in order to receive the truth of heaven. You have to open yourself up to those waters of heaven in order to be washed clean by them. And you have to be willing to study and go in and look at things, not in a way that man's taught you to look at them, and not be rebellious about God's truth that makes sense and adds up. I am a wall, and my breasts like towers. Then was I in his or her eyes, my mother's or my brother's eye, my beloved eyes, as one that brings peace. Her teachings brings peace to the land. These religious lies and laws have brought nothing but violence in our lands. Just look around you. Open your eyeballs and open your ears. Try to reason just a few things out for yourself. Psalms 129:1. So here we saw her identified as a youth, a girl, a young girl. It's never a youthful boy. It's always a girl. Psalm 129:1. A song of ascent. Ascent. That's a return back to God. That takes you to the Shulamite. Return, O Shulamite. What might we see when the Shulamite returns, as it were, the company of two armies? That's 144,000. One camp is 72,000, or one army, and two armies is 144,000. She is tracking along with her camp of Mahanaim, known as the presence of God, or the camp of God on earth. And they are reborn out of the dust of earth, speaking the truth of heaven upon their tongue, as was promised that God says, I will rebuild you, O virgin daughter of Zion. She says, many a time they have persecuted me from my youth. That's right. From the time I was a little girl. That's right. Yet let Israel now declare, many a time they have persecuted me from my youth, but they have not prevailed against me. She has made my forehead of diamond. Ha ha! Not going to prevail against these daughters once they grab onto the truth. Zechariah 11:13. And the Lord said, throw it to the potter, the lordly price at which I was prized by them. So I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them into the house of the Lord and to the potter. So we know that silver is also allegorical to water. It's allegorical to purity. And it is stronger than gold. It is. And that is why she manages to prevail over her brother. Yeah, with the truth. Though those gold sons, those sons of God, have become down to nothing more than clay pots. We looked at that in Lamentations 4:1. If you go in and look at the words. So I think we're going to leave it there. There's so many other things that you can grab onto all through those passages and run off looking for deeper truths, because they definitely are there. It's also going to lead you into Psalm 45, where she is dressed in gold. It says wearing a garment of gold. But then if you go in and look at the words, it says she is wearing variegated colors. That's a sign of the birthright holder, which is also going to take you back to the eagle, representing the spirit from above that chose the branch from the highest cedar, and that was identified as a female scion, a daughter. She chose a daughter to represent the spirit of her covenant. So anyway, there they are. I thank for watching. I pray the Lord blesses you all with an abundance of truth. And I hope you all have a really nice day.